Hi, you
There
guys finally see
she
me?
goes. There she goes. I don't
Sorry
know what's
about that.
happening. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
So we're
Happy.
here today. We're doing financial wellness with Miss Jasmine Sawyer.
How you doing?
Hi, Jasmine. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me on.
All right, we're
So we're
ready.
just gonna go ahead and begin. So Miss Jasmine Sawyer, as Nikki has stated, she's going to be doing our financial wellness piece for tonight, this evening. Just to begin, what led you into life insurance and focusing on financial wellness?
I can say that it was a 5-year streak that I was told by doctors that I wasn't going to make it. And I'm a Christian, so I was not afraid of the not making it part because I already knew who I was going to be with and who I was going to meet. Thank you, Jesus. But I was concerned about how I was leaving the welfare of my husband and my children. That stayed on my mind each time. And it made me realize how serious I had to get about leaving a legacy behind for them and a help for my husband as well. So I decided to get into that field mainly to learn for myself, educate myself. I got my licenses, and once I got into it, I realized there was a lot of people in our community who were uneducated within the same thing. So it piqued my interest, and I've been going at it ever since.
So the other thing too, the second question I have for you, what words or word would you use to describe insurance and what it stands for our Black community?
Accountability. I would say accountability is the main thing that comes into mind. Because as I said before, I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm great, but we don't think about what our children is going to be left behind once our income leaves. Example I can give you. I met a woman the other day, and I was helping her with a policy, and her husband was there, and she doesn't work. She's actually on Social Security disability, and her husband is the only one bringing in income, and they have 3 children. And I said, okay, God forbid anything happened. What are your needs? What do you need? And she came down with a list that I wrote to share with you. Obviously, I'm not sharing names of these people, but this is to give you a realism of how real life can get. They said they have $200,000 left on their mortgage, $20,000 left on their car payment, $5,000 per year is what their utilities add up to, which is $100,000 over the course of 20 years. $2,000 for their yearly property taxes on their home. It's not the mortgage, that's just property taxes. I said, let's add inflation to it. Instead of $2,000, let's make it $2,500. That's $50,000 over the course of 20 years. Then, okay, do you have any left behind debt? 2 credit cards and vacuum cleaner. I said, okay, what's that debt add up to? 10,000. All right. House upkeep. Want to leave at least $1,000 per month to allocate to the husband for or the wife for whatever may be needed. Okay. And they want to leave $60,000 to all 3 of their children. With that $60,000, $20,000 has to go toward college or trade school, $10,000 toward the wedding, $5,000 toward a car, $20,000 toward a down payment for a house, $5,000 toward UGMA custodial portfolio for your children. We'll talk about that maybe another segment, but those are the good. Look into those, or trust. And note, if college or trade school is not selected by each child, $28,000 can go back into that trust or into that custodial portfolio, and transfer of ownership can be transferred over to that child when they come up to the age that you feel they may be responsible at 30. Now, with a term policy or a whole life policy, and I'm going to tell you the difference in a minute with both of them, you do want to have an estate attorney, not a family member, divvy out those funds. Because let's face it, when it comes to money, people get really funny. At the funeral, instead of them grieving you, it will turn into a cat fight between your family over what they feel they're entitled to, because they had no idea that you wanted to get a $800,000 term life policy to be used in that way that I just listed. All they see is the money and all the trips they can go to in the Bahamas. They have no idea. So it's very important to have an estate attorney to divvy out who it goes to, and a living will and a regular will in hand. A will and a policy, those go in hand. Why? Because your will is your voice for you when you cannot speak for yourself. A living will means you're still alive, but maybe you had a stroke or you're in a coma, God forbid. You can't speak for yourself. That living will is going to say how you want your living benefits to be used and how you want things to run when you're unable to do it for yourself. The death will that most are familiar with is going to be your voice for you when you're no longer here. You're not here, but you know how you want everything to be used. So that will is going to solidify how that $800,000 is supposed to be allocated when you're no longer here. That is your voice, your will, your voice. And an estate attorney will keep that very clean and have it divvied out in a perfect way. So when you hear people on TV shows or your favorite movie always say to people before they try to do something to them, make sure you have your affairs in order. That's what they're actually speaking of, you know. I want to tell you guys about something that is very great, but let me give you the basics first. Term life and whole life. Know the difference between the two. A whole life policy is a permanent policy. You'll build up cash value. Those are called living benefits. Term life, but it's more expensive because you're building up cash value. A term life policy, you can get a whole lot more coverage for a whole lot less. So if you had to get $300,000 worth of coverage to cover you for 20 years, that can cost you $30. But keep in mind, all insurance is based on your current health and your current age. The younger you are, the healthier you are, you're going to get a risk class. Risk class is preferred, means you're so healthy you can run a marathon. You're preferred. So you're going to get a cheaper policy premium. Standard. You're like most Americans, you like McDonald's. So you're going to get a standard rate, or you get a rated class. Rated class means you're just happy the insurance policy said yes. You know, so you're going to pay a higher premium because of that. You know, however, you want to make sure that you have a policy somewhere. So a term policy, it lasts for a term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, based on those needs to cover that mortgage if you have one, to cover that car note. It's all based on your needs. And you get a whole lot more coverage for a cheaper premium, but it does not build up cash value. Whole life builds up cash value, but not what you're expecting. You have an IUL. I had a grandfather who passed away. He was an awesome businessman, great in finance. And before he passed away, one of the many tools of knowledge he gave me was, Jasmine, what you about to do now? And I said, well, you know, Grandpa, I was thinking about getting, you know, a nice new apartment. And he said, you want to have a renter's receipt all your life? And I said, Grandpa, what do you mean? And he said, it's always better to be an owner than a renter. And that hit me. And he said, look at all the real estate I have. And then he showed, and my grandfather, he was very smart with money. When he passed, I ended up helping him with a lot of stuff on his end. And, you know, he showed where he had clients who had estates worth up to $50 million based on an IUL. And I said, I'd have to look more into that. So when I got into this field, one of the clients that had walked into our firm had came in and they had on, I kid you not, overalls and a straw hat. I felt like I was in a TV show being punked. And they came in, they said, I want to have $40,000, please. I said, sure, we'll look into that for you. I looked into that. That person had $200,000 worth of cash value, sitting in their account. Wow. Wow. Money for them to use for their chicken farm. Kid you not, I'm not making this up. Their chicken farm, because they were chicken farmers. So what they would do is they come in every 3 months, take out $40,000 to $30,000, use it to upkeep their chicken farm, buy more chickens, supply the feed, all that different stuff, and then put it back. Now, the great thing about it is you don't have to put it back. It's your money. The con to it is deducted from the face amount of the policy. And no, it's not taxed. The IRS will never tax you on the money that you earn in your IUL because it's life insurance, technically. So you'll never see an advisor calling it a savings account. I'm not going to technically call it a savings account, but let's call it spade a spade. And it's growing at right now at Mutual of Omaha, even it's growing at a 6.28 interest rate for every dollar you put into it. It's pretty nice. So it's a way to build money. Any cash value that you take out of it will be deducted from the face amount. You can always throw it in or take it, or keep it for yourself. It's up to you. It's your money. And what's great about that money is it's going to supplement what your job is not. Let's face it. Your job is going to give you benefits toward retirement. This is great. But they're not going to give you enough to go on an excursion to the Holy Land or go to Paris or travel around the world with your spouse or build that business that you always wanted or fulfill any dreams or goals that you had. They're not going to do it. They're going to give you a vehicle, but it's not going to be fully loaded. This is a way to supplement your retirement so that it's fully loaded. It's a great way to do it. And also, my husband and I, before we got married, we had to go to marriage counseling, but our pastor at the church, and he had us take a financial wellness class by Dave Ramsey. By Dave Ramsey University. You can get his book at Barnes & Noble. He's awesome. Anyway, one of the tools that he put in his class, in his book, he said, you want to go in this order when it comes to saving and investing. You want to have match, Roth, traditional. Match. If your job is offering you a 5% match for every dollar that you throw into your retirement fund with them, you match them up to another 5%. You throw in 5% of your gross, not your net income, every time you get paid, and you have them match you at that other 5%. That's free money. So 10% of your gross income is going into your retirement pot, just with that. So match was first. Then you have Roth. What's great about Roth? You pay taxes on it as you're throwing money into it. But when it's time to use those funds, when you retire or you're ready to use them, it's tax-free. So that's why Roth is second. Traditional is usually a 401k, 403b account. You don't have to pay taxes as you're throwing money into it now. But when you take money out at that old age or retirement age or whatever, wherever you're at in life, as soon as you take it out, it starts getting taxed. So that's the difference between a Roth. That's the difference between a traditional, and match is always going to be number one. But the thing you always want to throw into that mixture is an IUL, also known as a universal account. It's called universal because it can flip-flop between that term and that whole life. You customize it. You customize it to last as long as you want it to last, to stop paying the premiums, but have the policy keep going and the cash value keep growing. It's a beautiful tool. especially if you know how to use it and you're being advised well on how to use it. So that's just one of the many things. And I'm sorry if I went off cave, but accountability.
That's
Accountability.
okay, but so what if somebody says, well, I don't even have enough money. You know, I don't have money for life insurance. I know it's important. I don't have money for that. I don't even make that much.
Well, I'll ask
What do you
you
say to
this.
that person?
Can you afford Applebee's once a month, or can you afford to go to McDonald's for that lunch break once a month? We say we spend more on fast food than we realize more in this country, especially. If you can afford $30 in fast food a month, then you most definitely can afford a term life policy. So based on your age and your health. Example, if you buy a $300,000 term life policy, maybe you're 30 years old, right? Or 35 years old, you can get a policy for like $30 a month or less. But yet your family's protected at that $300,000. That's the beauty of term life. You're able to buy a lot of money for a small premium. It's great. That's why it's always smart to have term and whole life, because whole life is more expensive to get. You can't get it as affordable as a term life, but it's only more expensive because it's building that cash value. So one of the smart formulas that I personally use for myself, and I always advise people to use, always take advice for somebody who's doing it themselves. Remember that in life. But one of the things that is always smart to have, a term life policy, this is immediate. As soon as you get it, you put that premium down, you're covered. Thank you, agent, for my policy. Let me walk out to my car. You fall down the stairs. God forbid you're not here, your family gets paid out immediately if you didn't lie on your policy. Tell the truth. Otherwise, the insurance companies will use that against you and say, we're not going to pay you. So that's the beauty of a term life. The beauty of a whole life, no, universal life, I will say, is that you're building up interest. So those 20 years that you've been working at work and you've been investing into that TSP, thrift savings plan, and you're matching, and your 401k or your Roth, and your IUL, now all of a sudden, after 20 years, that IUL has grown. You see, it's not immediate, but it's there. And that cash value is always there. It's like the set it, forget it mentality. By the time you're finished throwing money into it after 20 years, it's been growing. And it's been growing at right now a 6.28 interest rate. Whew! It's going to look nice. And it's going to supplement that retirement you're getting from work in a way that you've never imagined. So imagine combining that match with that Roth and that traditional that you've already been investing into nicely at work, and throwing in an IUL, you're set. But not only are you set, your children are set. Your grandchildren are set. This is how we build legacy. This is how we build financial freedom within our community. This is how we build financial wellness. And one of the things that we do in our community a lot is we make excuses. We make excuses of, oh, I can't afford it. I can't do it. I'll get to it. Let me tell you something. Who do you love? Or ask you something. Who do you love most in your life? Preferably me. I love Christ. Without him, I would not be here to tell the tale. Trust me. Underneath him, I love myself. Because if I don't love myself, I cannot dare say I love anybody else. I love my husband, so I got to look out for him. Make sure that God forbid anything happen to me, he's straight enough to take care of our children, my babies that I almost wasn't even here to tell the tale for, to get them here. Get where I'm coming from? So if I love my children so much, I don't want them to say, oh, I miss mommy. If only mommy was here. Yeah, I want them to miss mommy, but I want them to have what mommy worked so hard for when mommy was alive. That roof over their head that I worked so hard to provide for them. The car. Oh, mommy couldn't be there at the wedding, but I made sure I left a little chunk behind so that you could have that wedding of your dreams. The car, the property taxes. See, all those stuff that I named in that list earlier, that's a blessing to my spouse, because he doesn't have to, he's working, but he doesn't have to stress so much about paying a mortgage now. He doesn't have to stress so much about paying a car note now. He doesn't have to stress so much about the property taxes. Dang, he doesn't even have to stress about the monthly utilities because that was already discussed and covered in that policy. And the estate attorney has already allocated what he gets per month to handle each thing based on my will that I had set up. That's what you do when you truly love someone. See, love is a action word. It's sacrifice. Christ gave us the best example when he died on the cross for us. Sacrifice. So you can't sit here and you say, I love my babies, and you're not sacrificing anything for them. If you can go to get yourself the new pair of jeans, a whole meal at McDonald's or Applebee's, but you won't, keyword, won't sit there and get a policy on yourself to make sure that your loved ones, your babies, are covered, God forbid an event happens. Because let me tell you, you don't know when that event is going to happen in your life. I didn't know I was going to be sitting in the hospital 3 different times being told, who's your proxy? I had no idea. You don't know when God is going to hit that button in your life. So if you truly, truly love the people in your life you say you do, yeah, you want these living benefits for yourself to help supplement your retirement. But most of all, you want to make sure that your children don't end out on the street, because the mortgage company don't care about your grief. They want their money. The car dealership don't care about your grief. They want their money. And they will throw your children and your loved ones out on the street, into a shelter, or to a family member's house who really is not going to take care of them or look out for them as well as you ever could. Why put them in that position? Over $30 a month? And no, I'm not sitting here trying to guilt you, but I am trying to open up our community's eyes to the realism of life. It is nobody's responsibility to take care of you. It is nobody's responsibility to take care of your loved ones. It is yours. And this is a chance for you to do so, to financially be there no matter what, whether you're walking around this earth or the next. Your children are straight. So, like I said, one of the things, the main thing that got me into this field is not only to educate our people, but having that scare of knowing that I had my babies and I had nothing set up for them. I said, whoo, am I sure I love them as much as I say I do? You know, questions we have to ask ourselves. So the next time we walk around, and I made a budget. Hey, it's worth having. $30 a month, can't beat it. If I love my children and my husband the way I say that I love them, then I'm going to use that McDonald's money that I shouldn't be using anyway. But I'm going to use it, and I'm going to be a blessing to my family. I'm going to be a blessing to my children, whether I'm walking here or not. I'm going to be a blessing to my spouse, so that he's already probably will be walking in the days like, oh, my wife is not here. What do I do? Well, guess what? He won't have to say that, because me and him have gone over our wills. He and I have a book. I will tell you guys, always have a book set up. You can get it off of Amazon. It's called Need to Know. You write down all the policy account numbers. You write down every number for the utility bills, the account numbers, everything. Because I don't know about y'all, but ladies, I have to school my husband on these things, because they get used to you saying, oh, baby, you got it. You got it. This book will, or having a book like that set up, will let your husbands know what, or your spouse know, let's keep it both sides, know what to do in the account if you're not being here. They're not going to be completely lost. I will always say, the first rule of finance for these documents, we're living in a digital world, but always have a hard copy of something, and get a fire waterproof safe to put that book I just described to you in, a hard copy of your life policies, and hard copies of your living will and your death will. Have them all together, all that important documentation, and make sure the right people know how to get into that safe. That way they know what to do, you know. But I would say one of the main people you need to have in your life is an estate attorney, one that's trustworthy, one that you can go with, and one that's going to keep everything professional. God forbid you're not here anymore, the estate attorney will call that person into a room. Okay, this person left a will. This is how they want everything allocated, blah, 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 blah. And you don't have to worry about Aunt Rose skipping town with all the insurance money because she said, oh, they ain't gotta know. They ain't knows about it. You know, like I said, when it comes to money, people get funny.
Yeah,
you
people
know,
get weird with the money. They do.
It'll be the person that you expect least.
Mm.
How many funerals have you been to and everybody, they crying. And then when it comes to the money part, they forget all about the grief. Wait.
Yeah.
He loved me most.
Yeah, it's always an issue. It's always an issue. Uh-huh.
It turns into a whole thing that could have been avoided if an estate attorney was put in place in the first place. So I would say having an estate attorney that knows, your spouse being privy, having all those documents put into a fire waterproof spot, God forbid, the house were to burn down, the paperwork is still intact. Digitally, and hard copy. You know what I mean? That book that I was explaining to you is awesome because it even has sections where you can put passwords for this for digital accounts that you may have. You know, it's a great tool. And I would say having a discussion with your spouse on this is the most important. Another thing that you can add into it is your children. If you have children, every year, write a personalized note to them and throw that into that paperwork too. Because like I said, you never know. And just tell them, it doesn't have to be a sad letter to them. Just tell them what made you proud of them that year. Your voice matters. That can be a part of your will. To my son, Bob, and my daughter, Betsy, here's a letter for you for this year. Betsy. You know what I mean? Put that up with your will and your paperwork. And they'll be shocked that you were thinking about them. You know, it's a beautiful thing. They'll always look at it. It'll be your handwriting, be your words. But above all things, our community, let's get more accountable. Let's start loving ourselves more. Let's start loving our children more. Let's start building up a legacy. Let's stop renting and let's start owning. Because guess what? When you own, you build up equity, or you can always sell it and get your money back. You know what I mean? When you rent, you paying off somebody else's mortgage and letting them go on that trip to Paris. That could have been your trip. And that IUL that I was telling you about is one of those tools that is most definitely going to get you there and supplement whatever benefits you already are getting from work. And for those who are self-employed or may not be receiving benefits from any type of job, this is most definitely something that you can get. And you do not need employment to actually even open up a Roth IRA account. Yeah, it's true. You know, I would say find, financial investment company. Mutual of Omaha is great. Fidelity Life. It's a lot of things out there. So many resources, that you can use. It's a great thing. And we're not taught finance in school unless we major in it. So it is up to us to independently gain knowledge. And one thing I can say, when you're speaking to an agent, no one should ever be trying to solicit money from you for any means, unless you are actually buying a product or some type of insurance. Always keep that in mind. I speak to people on a constant, and I give them advice on a daily, and they don't pay me a cent, and I don't ask for a cent. I'm not looking for it, because I actually love speaking to people to help them with their personalized issues financially. If they need a policy, then I'm here for them as well. But I'm not saying, okay, I gave you advice, that'll be $8. This is not coming to America. So keep that in mind when you're finding a trustworthy agent. And if your needs are like $500,000 or $500,000, but yet they're trying to sell you a $5 million policy, look out for that too. Because why? So remember to use your own sound judgment, use your own wisdom, be smart. And like I said, when it comes to a financial advice, I'm here. You know, that's why I'm on this channel, because I want to be an avenue for a lot of people to speak to. And the great thing about being an agent, I can say, is we have the same laws as doctors called HIPAA. We get fingerprinted and everything. So that means that it doesn't matter if it is your husband or it is your wife or it is your grandmama or anyone. I cannot tell your personalized business financially to anyone. I can't tell your spouse who's the owner of your policy. I can't tell your spouse what's on your policy. Can't do it unless you give me those permissions. So we have HIPAA laws just like doctors do. So whatever I speak to my clients about, it stays between me and them, no one else. And that's the way it's supposed to be. If you're running into an agent and they're telling you someone's business, that's reportable. That's like a doctor saying, hey, I just got finished with Kathy down the road and she's having triple bypass next week. No, HIPAA law is HIPAA law, you know, and it is punishable. So keep that in mind when you're speaking to an agent.
Okay. I have another one. Why do you feel in our community we don't know about life insurance?
Hi, sorry everyone, and thank you for everyone who rejoined us and came back. Thank you so much for that.
Sorry about all that.
No.
Because I'm like, you was getting right to the good part, and I'm like, oh, we don't need people to miss out on all this.
No, thank you for everyone who rejoined us. Okay, the question that you were asking me before was our community, how come we don't know about IUL policies? Well, keep in mind, it's fairly new. It didn't come out until the 70s, but the wealthy knew, and they've been using it ever since. But don't let that make you lose heart. As I was saying before, our community is a very strong people. For people who did not know how to read or write, because it was punishable by death, by law, and just told, okay, you're free now. Here's your bag. Go on in the street and make something of yourself. Look what we accomplished in that time. It's amazing. You know, we even had a thing called Black Wall Street. I'm pretty sure a lot of our people are unaware of. Mm-hmm. My point is, if you look at our roots, our bloodline, our people, it says a lot about our character and how strong we are and the things that we can accomplish if we truly put our minds to it. That's why I know that we can literally build these legacies for our children and ourselves and get that financial wellness and that financial freedom that we all want. We were not taught these things in school unless we majored in them. Let's be frank, unless you majored in finance or accounting. I can't even say business because I majored in business and I had an accounting class. I busted that out with an A+, loved it. But that was one class out of the whole major. Everything else was business classes. I spoke to my mother the other day and I said, Ma, you went to one of the top business schools in Manhattan when you were growing up. What did you learn? She said, oh, business. They didn't really teach us much about finance, but business. So I'm saying, unless you major in finance or you go for your Series 6 exam to find out more about how to use the stock market, you're not going to really know how to do it unless you're taught. And that's why, I speak a lot. Yes, you guys probably have seen, but I'm zealous when it comes to this topic in trying to give our community knowledge. When I go to clients, I'm not going to them like a car salesman trying to sell them a policy. Like, oh, you should get this. This is great for you. No. When I speak to my clients, my favorite thing to say is, or ask them, what are your goals? What are your true goals in life? Let's make it happen. You know, where are you at now? I truly care about helping them fulfill those goals and get them to where they need to be financially in life. Like my husband and I did not start here. We did not start here. It was it was a struggle. And we do have a testimony when it comes to that. God has really brought us a mighty long way. But we went from where we were all the way to now being homeowners and having our vehicles and having our children set. My kids have stock portfolios now. Like, wow, how'd you go from A to C and skip the B? Because God is able. And I have to tell you, the thing that actually helped us get there was paying our tithes. By paying our tithes, it actually, we saw it always helped us. Even though we did not have the money to do so, paying their tithes, even sometimes it wasn't even the full 10%. But when you give God the first fruits, because this is all his in the first place, when he sees you're obedient and faithful enough to do that, he said, okay, I'll bless you. But I noticed every time we would skip paying a tithes for a while, you know, things would get dry. It became a struggle for us. And I said, all right, God, all right, we're going to get back on track. And it would make things so much better, so much easier. And I give him all the glory and the praise for this, you know. But I will tell you this, as a community, we cannot hold anybody accountable for our responsibilities. It is up to us to get it right for ourselves and for our children and teach the next generation that comes after us on how to do it. Now, remember, when I was telling you before the difference between term life and whole life, keep that in mind. You don't just want a whole life product. You want a term life product to hold you for now. And you want that IUL to build you up for your future. Whether that's just to supplement your retirement, go on that trip around the world that you want to do, start that business, help your children with college, use it for anything you want, buy that boat, anything. That's going to supplement you. And remember, at work, the formula is match. You match up gross, whatever your job is planning to match you up to. If they want to match you up to 5%, you match them up with another 5%. Roth, invest into your Roth policy. Why? I mean, Roth account, because it's tax free when you take the money out. And traditional, you don't pay taxes as you do in that 401k or a 403b. However, you are going to be paying taxes later on, but it's always smart to have them all. And the IUL, whew, that's the savings right there. The interest is beautiful when you're finished investing into that IUL. Because I have a 25-year-old client, wrote a policy up on her. She said, Jasmine, I want to retire when I'm 55 years old. What I do with my clients, like I said, I always ask them what their goals are before I do anything with them. What do you want? What are your goals? What do you want to do with these goals? When do you want to retire? She told me at 25 years old, she wants to retire at age 55. I said, okay. She's not, where do you work? She doesn't work at a big fancy job. I actually think she maybe even be like a teacher. She doesn't make a lot of money. And she's in the South, so she's really not making a lot of money. However, by the time she's 55 years old, her policy is going to be close to her cash value is going to be worth close to $2 million by the time she's 55 years old, just from this IUL. And I just turned 36, and I said, whoo, I wish I would have did this at 25. Who take me back 11 years, you know? And I always tell her, you know, you're extremely intelligent because you're thinking about your future at an age that most people are not. You know, we don't really, a lot of people in our community don't really think about investing into their retirement until they're at retirement age. Sadly, it's a lot of clients that come up to me now who are 55 years old or 57, and they're entering retirement years. And they say, what can I do now to build up my retirement? And I'm like, well, it's not too late for you. I don't want you to feel like it's too late to start something for yourself, because there's always something. And I'm one of those type of people that find something for everybody. You know, for example, we have a policy called critical illness. If you can't afford an IUL policy, this is another living benefit that you can have for yourself. Critical illness. Tiffany, I think I was talking to you about this, you know, so you're familiar with this type of product. What this product does is, say, God forbid, you were to go blind or have a heart attack, stroke, you get diagnosed with cancer, any type of critical illness, and you say, okay, well, I didn't start until I was late in life. A lot of people in our community are not retiring with benefits from a job. I'm running into a lot of people like that. So what can I do for them? Let's get you at least a term policy so you can leave something behind for your children. Let me give you a type of IUL policy so you're still building interest on your death benefit, maybe a $25,000 policy. What do you want to be? Cremated? Do you want to be buried? There's a difference in price. If you want to be cremated, that can be like $5,000 to $7,000, depending on where you're at. If you want to be buried, $10,000. If you want a fancy funeral, maybe $15,000. Keep in mind, inflation is happening all around us. 20 years from now, who knows how much that's going to cost? So you always want to go a little bit higher when it comes to the way you want to be buried or cremated. Okay, what do you want to leave behind to your children? $50,000, $20,000, $10,000, $60,000. Add that into your term policy. Okay, how much? Well, you don't have enough time to build up that cash value that you really wanted, but we can do something, and let's do that critical illness. A critical illness policy is if you were to be diagnosed. From the moment you're diagnosed, you show that paperwork to the insurance company. What happens is the insurance company takes that paper and they say, oh, I'm sorry that you were diagnosed. You just got a critical illness policy for $20,000. Here's a lump sum check. How do you want it? You want it sent to your account digitally, or do you want us to mail it to you? With that check, you're going to use that check to cover your bills as you're going through treatment. Take care of your grocery. Take care of the babysitting costs. Take care of your spouse. Take care of your medical bills. This your money to do what you want with. But at least now you have it. And you know how much that $20,000 for a lifetime will cost you? $5 to $10 a month. I kid you not. $5 to $10 a month will give you a $20,000 check in your account from the moment that you're diagnosed with a critical illness. People do not even know exist. You know? So there are resources out there for us. And this is something that I help the 55-year-olds or the 56-year-olds who, everyone, honestly, but the ones who do not have that benefit or that pension coming in at their retirement age. You know, I'm like, okay, well, at least we have this for you, where you know you're having a check coming from here. Let's get you a term life policy so that way you can get that big number that you wanted to leave behind to your children, your adult children, who you say you want to leave $10,000 to $20,000 to $50,000 for. Okay, and let's get you an IUL of some type of sort, so you can still have a little something for yourself in cash value. And I will always look for it to fit within your budget. So if your budget is, I don't know, $100 a month, hey, let's see what we can fit into it for your needs. I like to customize based on people's needs. And yeah, your wants are important, but let's get your needs covered. Let's make sure your mortgage is taken care of so the children don't lose the house. Let's make sure that car is taken care of. That way you don't have the repo man coming in front of your house as soon as you're no longer here. You know, these are things we have to think about. If you can afford to go and get your hair done and your nails done, that's great. If you can afford a trip to the Bahamas, that's sweet. But what? Life has to end for your loved ones because you're not here? It's not right. And another thing you have to keep in mind is when you retire, what? All of a sudden you stop working at that job that you worked for 30 years. As soon as you stop working at that job for 30 years, if you don't have certain contingencies in place, you'll find yourself saying, oh no, I'm 70 years old, but yet I have to go back and work at Walmart or get a part-time job somewhere because I don't have enough money coming in that I'm used to coming in. You know, I got my benefit check from work and my Social Security. And, you know, you don't want to have to downsize your life unless you choose to. because of lack of income. So you always want to supplement what you're already being offered at work, no matter what. No matter what. One of the people that I look at and I say wow to, that I aspire to, is my mother. My mother retired at 58 years old. At 58 years old, and she is living her life like it's golden, like Jill Scott would say. My mother gets to literally complain every day about not having to do much. That is not a nice complaint.
That's a
I'm bored.
nice complaint.
You know, at 58 years old, isn't it great to say, oh, I'm bored. Let me go to Amazon today, or let me watch a movie today, or maybe I should take myself out on a date today, or go out there. You know, it's wow. Isn't that nice? But that's because she heeded the words of my grandfather when she was 23 years old. The one I was telling you guys about, you know, about that financial advice. So when you start out, it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s or your 30s or even your 50s, like we were talking about. Get a plan going. Get legacy in mind. Get something in mind to not only bless yourself while you're here, but your children and your grandchildren. And please, 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 before we go, make sure that you look into an estate attorney. Make sure you look into a fire waterproof safe to keep all of your policies and your paperwork in, including that book I was telling you about, to like I have for my husband, so he knows where all the utility accounts numbers are, where he knows where to find everything. This is not a conversation you want to have people on a daily basis because you feel like it's a Debbie Downer, but it is important to speak to your spouse so they know, or your loved ones in life, so they know how you want things. And even though you speak to them, having it written down is always the best thing, because your handwriting, your words, make sure after you do your wills, your living will and your death will, you get it notarized. Notarize it after you get it filled out. Okay, you can go on legalzoom.com to get a will. Fill it out, then go and notarize it. It's not expensive. Put it up with your policies. And also have the card with the policies, the card for your estate attorney. That way his email is there and his number is there. So there's no doubt on who to call and question about when it comes to this. So your family, all that bickering is out and everything is just taken care of, and you don't have to end up in probate court. Nobody wants to end up there. You just want things to be cut clean and dry, you know? So like I said, if anyone has any questions or concerns, because, you know, this is not a call and response type video. If you have any questions or concerns, you know, I'm pretty sure these lovely ladies will tell you how to reach me. I love giving advice. I love listening to people's stories. I love showing them how to get into financial freedom for themselves and get into how Christ has blessed my husband and I into such a, because there was time in life where we were like, oh God, we're doing what we have to do, but we're struggling. No one wants to live like that forever. And there is a way out of it. There is a way to be free. There is a way to breathe. There is a way to protect your family. There is a way to protect yourself. And there is a way to build that dream that you have for yourself, whether it's that business, traveling, anything. So I hope that I answered everyone's questions that they may have today. But like I said, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me. Ladies, do you want to share my contact information?
Yeah, we're going to put everything down in the description box and at the end of this video. So we'll have all of Jasmine's information on there so you can contact her, and anything you need to know. As you see, she'll give you all the information and she's really good at it. And she won't leave anything out for you, so you can get everything that you need. I think that was it. Did you need anything? I think Tiffany had one. Did you have something, Tiffany?
No, that was all, because Jasmine just pretty much hit everything on point.
She
She
didn't
gave
miss
us
the
advice.
beat. She did not miss the beat, y'all.
She gave us tips, advice for what you need to seek out when you have a insurance agent. Remember what she said? The most important tip she shared: they should not charge you for their advice. So that was one of the main questions that I had. But she hit every single thing. And thank you again, Jasmine, for helping us and getting up here on this live and sharing this great information to the people that's viewing and part of part of our network. So we appreciate it because again, this needs to be shared and told to the Black community how we can gain legacy wealth for our children
Yeah.
and for the next generations. But I know before we leave, I like Nikki's earrings, and Nikki got to share where she
Oh,
got them because
yes.
they fire.
This
I
is
like
here
them. I
at,
like them.
yes, at the Gullah. Yes, we talk about Black owned businesses. You know, we always post, we always like to put a spotlight on Black owned businesses. And the earrings that I'm wearing are from a Black owned business. And the information is called Phase 2 Revamped _ Cats 9 brand. I'm going to have that under the description box as well. My lipstick is from Aja Nicole Intimates, and it's in the color Love Me. And I just want to thank Jasmine again. And all her information is going to be in there as well. So everything that we talked about will be listed below. And thank you guys again. Next week, we have Hitched by Our Co. And that's going to be awesome. It's going to be at 7 p.m. And thank you again for watching. And until next time.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. This is great. And thank you for everyone for joining us.